Hey there. I know you've heard us talk about the physical and emotional toll for those impacted by dementia. And today we bring you a guest, a daughter, in fact, who is facing significant financial challenges, let's say, as her mother ages and is worrying about how she's going to be able to take care of her. This is something many of us maybe haven't thought about, especially when we think Medicare covers it all. You really need to tune in today. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Experts Dig In with Doggies for Dementia. I'm Carmen DeValis. I'm the founder and president of Doggies for Dementia Foundation. And our mission really is to gift families beautiful professional photography sessions with their loved ones. And we all usually include family dogs because adding dogs to the mix just add a particular joy and love to life. And we are able to obtain those candid, beautiful, people say they have a little glint in their eye, a little, the smiles are real. We're not posing, it's real. And those just become priceless treasures for families. And in addition to that, we work really hard to help raise awareness because one of the things we hear from families quite often is that I feel like a lot of people don't understand about Alzheimer's disease or other forms of dementia. And we would really love to change that. So our YouTube channel here that you've stumbled onto, or maybe you're seeing on social media, is our way of helping to teach the world about dementia. And I'm delighted today to have Karen Eischen as our guest. Karen, I really found through social media, I saw that she had a GoFundMe account request and looked into that and go, well, she's looking for to help her with her 96-year-old mother who has dementia and in her care. And so we're going to learn more about that because sadly, Karen's story is not an isolated situation. And we'd like to share that, wouldn't we, Karen? We'd like people to know this and
Yeah.
see, well, what's the small picture here for you right now, which is not small at all. It's big. And then our big system. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Thank
Karen,
you for
tell.
having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Surely my pleasure. Um, well, begin, Karen. I mean, so your mother's 96 and
Yes.
she's in an assisted living right now.
She's in what they call here in California a residential care facility. So
Okay.
it's a house that has 6 residents currently, and they have staff, and she's there 24/7. So
Yeah.
she's well taken care of 24/7.
Yeah. And aren't they wonderful? Personal care homes are wonderful for
Yes,
the personal
they
care.
are.
And
I'm
you
really glad. I'm really glad that I found this one because I
yeah.
actually found this during the pandemic when I was not able to come and see her because before that she had been in an assisted living situation and she had an episode and was taken to the emergency,
Mm.
and they determined that she couldn't be returned to her assisted living until she completed certain steps. And so they put her in a rehab facility. And unfortunately, in the rehab facility, she declined.
Oh,
So during the pandemic, when I couldn't visit her, I couldn't travel. There were some wonderful senior specialists who provided assistance for me, really my lifeline to find her this home.
yeah.
And we did it all via Zoom. So it's possible, a little stressful, but it's possible. And
Yeah.
it's been a wonderful place for her.
Yeah. And that's fantastic. And this your mother has problems seeing or is legally blind
Yeah, she's
also.
blind. Yeah.
Yeah. What a tough situation. And so what happened? That sounds pretty perfect then. So what happened?
It is perfect,
Yeah.
except it's expensive.
Mm,
And she has a pension and she has Social Security, as many elderly do, but it doesn't pay for all of the expenses. And we had funds set up for her that were supplementing those. And then because I realized that those funds were dwindling fast, I put them into some investments that haven't paid off. And so the other option is to apply for what in California is called Medi-Cal. I'm always going to get it wrong, Medi-Cal.
Yeah.
And that process takes a while to do. And also it would require, and this is for me personally, a lot of people, if they just go ahead and apply for Medi-Cal and just go with it, it would require her to move. And I don't want her to have to move because she's 96, she's blind, she's in a wheelchair. She is loved by the staff there. She's well cared for. We're still in a pandemic, and so she could be exposed on, going to someplace else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it's risky when there's not a pandemic, because
it's risky when it's not a pandemic, but during a pandemic, it's like, I really don't want to move her. So, so it seemed like my options were, I didn't know what to do. And my daughter came up with this GoFundMe saying, well, we could raise some funds quickly and at least give me time to look at other financial options. Mm-hmm. So I have been looking, like I said, for me personally, for Medi-Cal may be an answer for some. It's not easy to get on it though. And they've actually, my mother is not in a nursing care. And so Medi-Cal actually only pays for nursing care right now because they've suspended their assisted living waiver, which is a supplement or underneath the umbrella of Medi-Cal. And so she's not quite ready for nursing care. So that's the other wrinkle, is that she might, be required to be evaluated to see if she could go into nursing care. And then of course, again, as I said, she would be required to then move to a nursing care facility because this facility is a residential care. So I'm kind of, it's kind of like we're caught in this in between, and considering, as I always have, what's best for my mom, not, so her expenses are taken care of, woohoo. And I'm going to feel bad every day because she's in a horrible place. Mm-hmm. And not that all places are horrible. I don't want to say that. If anybody's listening, if anybody's a senior care specialist, I know there are great places out there, and I found one. And the great places are usually more expensive because they pay their caregivers more, so their caregivers don't have to look for 2 or 3 jobs, and so there's not turnover. There are what do you call, costs and balances to the system. If it's more expensive, you're getting better care just because the people can stay there longer.
Yeah. So a couple things there is that for people who aren't aware, we're talking $5,000 to $10,000 a month, probably, right? Like care wise. And another point is when you're talking about nursing care, it's skilled nursing care. And there's a cloud. It's not, you think, well, of course she needs a nurse. She's 96 and she's, blind and has some dementia going on. But there are certain criteria that people need to meet in order to be in skilled nursing. It's not, and she may not well qualify then also. So that's actually a real concern in spite of age and condition. There's certain things in order to qualify for skilled nursing, and skilled nursing care is what is really more like a nursing home. Skilled nursing is very different than a residential care or even assisted living or memory care, much different. And it would be a huge transition for your mother, and many people in a move have serious decline that they may not recover from with the move.
Yeah, and that's my concern.
That
physically she may be able to, but emotionally and spiritually, I don't know what would happen.
And most people, and I was just asking, like, you mean Medicare doesn't pay for skilled care? Doesn't pay Medicare doesn't pay for assisted living or residential care homes? No. No, they don't. That's a surprise to a lot of people who haven't needed to take care of a parent or a loved one who has Medicare.
Right.
It's
And another thing people ask me is, did she have long-term care insurance, which is really great to have. And no, she doesn't. I have had it. I've had it since I was 40. So if anybody's watching this and thinks that you can get by, my policy is for $500,000. So I'm telling you, it's going to help, and I'm glad I have it. But it's also not, also not the ultimate solution, because it's not an endless pot of money. And if you lived a long, long time, like my mom, she would have run out of that too. It would have been helpful. I mean, she probably, we wouldn't be here doing this GoFundMe if she had long-term care insurance, but she doesn't. So my advice to anybody watching this, if you can get long-term care insurance, get some kind of long-term care insurance policy, because that will help you. It won't cover everything. Again, they have a limit, a daily limit, but it would certainly help you, and it would help your loved ones. And it's too late for my mom to even buy it, right? They won't sell it to somebody who's 96. And it would be exorbitant even if they would sell it, because it goes up in price, as I understand it. I'm not an insurance person, so if I'm getting it wrong, don't sue me.
Me either, but I think you're right. I think you're right.
As you get older, it goes up. The premium goes up because you're at more risk for needing it, right? So when you're 40, it's pretty cheap. When you're 60, it's not going to be so cheap. So I would advise anybody who's listening to this to actually look at that. Look at your whole portfolio of what you can provide beyond, what your retirement is going to bring you.
Right.
And beyond what Social Security is going to bring you.
Right.
Because those are very inadequate. Not saying they're bad. If you've got it, great, but they're inadequate to provide for all the care that you'll eventually most likely will need.
Yes, because on average, assisted living is upwards of $5,000 a month. Maybe $4,000. Depends on where you live, but and it goes up. The more care that's needed, the more assistance that might be needed, the higher it goes, depending on the location. And I mean, what kind of community as well. Assisted living is more care needed, is memory care needed. That's more also. And, when you're living into your 90s, here you are, and it's kind of like, well, what do we do? There's the emotional toll. There's you love your mother, you want to take care of her. How do you do that? And so some listening will say, well, Karen, why don't you move her in with you? And so what challenges are there with that? What do you think around that?
Well, one, just the fact, again, that we talked about moving, that whole process of moving her would be traumatic. Two, my home was built in the 40s, and so it does not meet the standard for wheelchair. So she would be relegated, because I don't have the funds to do an upgrade and make all of the doorways accessible. She would be relegated to one room. She wouldn't be able to be moved, which I don't think is a good quality of life situation. It may be my ultimate move if I can't figure out a long-term solution, but again, it's not ideal. And I'm looking at what is not for me, because this GoFundMe, this being out here, this being visible, this being sharing my vulnerability is very, very difficult. And I would rather have done it some other way, but because I love my mother so much, it forced me to be visible. And so I'm going to be visible, and I'm going to share, and I'm going to share the difficulties. And for all those people that find a great solution, great. There are loads and loads of wonderful people out there. The staff at my mom's residential care home are some of the best. And so there is care out there for your loved ones. Just know that it's expensive. And if you don't have a fund set up that is going to give you residual income, passive income that's going to meet those expenses, you're going to run into, unfortunately, probably a similar situation as mine.
Yeah.
And I would want people to avoid that, but I don't, I know that I'm not the only one.
Oh, no. And I'm
I
sure
know
you've
that.
caught some flack
No.
for it. And I'm sure you've heard from people who said, I feel you. I'm in this situation. I don't know what to do. And to go back to caring at home, adjustments, if they're able to be made, need to be made. And then if you work, you're doing things, you need to have someone else there to take care of your mother. And plus, a lot of people will say, you know what, I want to be her daughter. I want to love her, be her daughter. It's hard to do that and to be a caregiver at the same time when it's all encompassing. And so you will need help depending on how much, which is also expensive. And so it's a trade-off. And it doesn't, I know this will come to us as a surprise for people. It doesn't come from Medicare. Families are on their own with this, just a whole lot on their own. And and so now you're looking for a stopgap now to get through and to see, what am I going to do next? What can we do? And what's the best for your mom? Absolutely, the best is for her to remain where she's at, happy and thriving as best as possible during a pandemic, because that's a tough.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, Karen, I cannot express how grateful we are for you to share your story, because I just know how hard that would be for me to cut and say, hey, how tough it is, while you're also working hard to love and care for your mom and to best provide. And then you're just like, now I need to go public with this. But I guarantee you, your story will help others to say, you know what, me too. I've been really quiet about it, but this is really eating me up inside and I need some support. And this is a system problem, a big system problem for those of us in the United States, at least, and I'm sure other places too. And that, how do we care for our elderly and infirmed? How do we do that as a society? And how do we support families who are doing that? And how can people reach out to help you then, Karen? Before we sign off, I want to be sure, and I will put the links in the video as well. But what's the best way for people to help you?
Well, they can go to the www.gofundme.com and just search for either my name, Karen Eischen. I'm not exactly sure how they sort it, or Jenny Gunderson. Okay.
Is that your daughter?
Jenny Gunderson is my mom.
Oh, your mom. Right. Okay. Oh, yes, I knew that. Okay. And I'm going to have the links there. And, I would love to start a conversation about this. So I'm really hoping for some comments here, because I reached out to you because I know, sadly, you're not alone in this journey. And we wanted to do what we could to help support and to help raise awareness for the situation as it is. And we've got wonderful caregivers out there in communities and people who are helping. We've got some that aren't so great and have all kinds of challenges, including financial, and families too, going, what do I do? What do you mean Medicare doesn't pay for it? I had no idea. And that are personally going bankrupt to support their families as well. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. I look forward to your comments. Thank you, Karen. Thank you for being here. Yeah. All right. Take care, guys. We'll see you next week.